Hi, my name is John.
And my name is Lloyd.
And we're the hosts of The Pint,
a pop culture podcast.
Lloyd, if you had to tell any of the people out there that might be listening to The Pint for the first time about anything unsavory or disconcerting we might do on the show, what would you warn them about?
Well, sometimes we drop spoilers, and sometimes we swear like motherfucking sailors.
Fuck yeah, we do. You heard it from him. You've been warned.
Listen in.
I'm not gonna go to college. The money is gone. You can't get it back. It's over. This whole dream. It's not what I wanted. It's what you wanted. I never wanted it. I just didn't have the guts to tell you.
Oh, you're only 18 years old, for Christ's sake.
Then I'm 19, then I'm 20. When does my life belong to me?
Welcome to The Pint, a pop culture podcast. It's September, which means it's Totally Bitchin' 80s all September long here on The Pint. My name is John.
My name is Lloyd.
And this episode is a Pint Insider dedication. This is where we take one of our insiders who we know, who we love, and where we say...
We love them all.
We love them all. And where we say, what's a movie this person really enjoys? And we do that movie for that person without them asking us to do it. Well, this one is for Scary Larry Dwyer. And you folks all know Scary Larry. He's been on the show 18 trillion times. You probably know him personally if you're an insider. But here's what I'll tell you about Larry, is he's got the reputation as being the guy who loves all the scary stuff. Scary's in his fucking name.
His mother fucking named him Scary Larry.
Scary Larry, right. When he came out, she said, this is Scary Larry. What was it, Sheffrick? Was that his real, we found out about Larry? Sheffrick?
Yeah, Sheffrick.
Like yeah. Anyways, Larry's a softie. He loves a lot of stuff, like comedies, and one of the movies he talks about a lot when we're just talking movies is the movie we're going to talk about tonight. It's a John Hughes film, but it's not one of it's not Pretty in Pink. It's not Breakfast Club. It's not 16 Candles. It's 1987's.
It's the superior one.
Well, we'll get into that. Some Kind of Wonderful. Let's get into it.
Let's rock!
All right. So Some Kind of Wonderful came out on February 27th of 1987. It was directed by a guy named Howard Deutsch. The original
Dutch.
Yeah, Deutsch. The original director hired for this movie was Martha Coolidge, who made Real Genius and Valley Girl, and she was fired by John Hughes, the writer and producer. He didn't think that her tone worked with what he wanted to put out here. So they bring Howard Deutsch in, Deutsch, whatever, and his credits include Pretty in Pink, which we just mentioned, The Great Outdoors, and the Keanu Reeves football movie, The Replacements. A year prior, they teamed up on one of the popular ones that I mentioned, Pretty in Pink, a John Hughes film that Howard Deutsch directed.
What a douche.
Yeah. I've only seen Pretty in Pink once. It's the only one of those John Hughes movies that was very popular in the 80s that I only saw once. I think partially because when I was a kid, I think I knew more. Like, it wasn't as much of a broad comedy as 16 Candles. I think I knew, like, it was like a what I would have thought was a lovey-dovey story, and it didn't hold my interest. So about 10 years ago, I watched it for the first time ever. It's a good movie, but the reason John Hughes wanted to do this story was because when they did Pretty in Pink, test audiences did not like the fact that the Molly Ringwald character apparently ended up with the John Cryer nerdy best friend character. They wanted her to end up with Andrew McCarthy, and it's a whole story about a guy and a girl from the wrong side of the girl from the wrong side of the tracks, a guy who's a little bit more well off, and people didn't like the fact that she ended up with the guy that was apparently right for her in most people's eyes, including John Hughes and Howard Deutsch. So they were forced to make this new ending where she ends up with Andrew McCarthy, and John Hughes was pissed off about it. So a year later, he essentially retells the story.
Yeah. Gender swapping and retelling, right?
Gender swapping over some of the wrong side of the tracks aspects where like our three main characters that are kind of in this love triangle are all from the wrong side of the tracks. But the girl who our hero is in love with is in the world of the people on the other side of the tracks. It's a whole thing. We'll get into that. So obviously, as I mentioned, written by John Hughes. You know him from a million things. He wrote Mr. Mom. He wrote National Lampoon's Vacation. Oh, and a little movie called Home Alone.
Right.
He died about 10 or 12 years ago. This movie was filmed all over Los Angeles. So it's a movie that takes place in Los Angeles. I think it's San Pedro High School that's filmed in Los Angeles. And it was filmed from April to October of 1986. So this movie was being filmed around the time that Pretty in Pink was out in theaters probably, or at least had been out in theaters. I didn't read too deep into it, but it seems so weird that like either the same studio or another studio would let John Hughes make a movie with the ending he wanted it to make, where the movie he had made the year before did really well, I guess, or at least did well enough that it was, considered a hit. I don't know. It just seems like a weird thing where they're like, okay, go ahead and do the movie you want to make now. So
yeah.
This is the movie, I guess, the ending he wanted to make, and we'll get into that. That's all I got for production. Manster, why don't you talk about the cast in this film?
Allow myself to introduce myself.
What a cast. Yeah, I tried something different. As I spoke on the Fog episode, I was coming off a surgery when I watched this movie. And I even in my notes, I'm looking at my notes, and I did my notes totally different. So
you were high. You were high as fuck.
Yeah, I was high. Like the effects of fentanyl last a while. All right.
Nice.
So that's why I felt so good for a while. So I'm gonna go with this and see what the hell I was thinking when I wrote this.
I'm excited.
First of all, yeah, right. So the cast and the music in this, banging. I love the opening. I love the opening to this movie. It's just got such a banging beat and drum and the girl on the drums. It's awesome.
I knew you would like it, first of all.
Yeah.
Now, I've seen this movie before, but we mentioned this off the air. I have not seen this as an adult, like in full. I'm sure I saw this on HBO as a teenager and stuff. But I didn't like the opening. I felt like...
Yeah, I like the opening.
I felt like, I don't know, I can't even describe my feelings towards it, but I felt like it didn't feel... Maybe in my mind, part of the problem is that I'm kind of expecting more of this like lighter tone John Hughes upbeat thing. And this is kind of more of a, I don't want to say a downbeat story. It's a little bit grittier than his normal fare.
Yeah. And I'm kind of bummed that it doesn't have the song Some Kind of Wonderful by Grand Funk Railroad, because it's such a good song. All right. So cast, we have Eric Stoltz as Keith Nelson. So what I did here, I wrote a little character motivation thing, and then I wrote a little bio. So let's look at that.
Nice.
So basically his motivation, he's a sensitive, artistic high school senior, working class family. He wants to break free from the expectations of his father. And so what he wants to do in this film is to win the affection of the girl that he thinks he's in love with, Amanda Jones, the popular girl in school. And basically, this pursuit of Amanda also is sort of like his own quest to find his own way in life and his self-worth and like identity and stuff like that.
I had to keep on in this movie. I just want to bring it up now. I had to keep on reverting my brain to 18-year-old brain because so much of this movie hinges on people having feelings for people they don't know. And I had to remember that's how you are in school. You look at a pretty girl and there's actually a line later in the movie where Amanda says to him, that painting wasn't of my personality. It was of my face. Right? And I had to, so I think my adult brain had a hard time at points where it's a story about these people that are like longing for each other, but like, why are they longing for each other? But they're 18-year-old kids. Mm-hmm. And I'm a going to be 50. So I kind of had to repeatedly check myself because I was getting frustrated. I'm like, you don't know what love is. Like, why do you think you're in love with her? And, so there were some things like that kind of came into play for me.
It all plays into that motivation stuff. So,
Right.
So Eric Stoltz, pre Some Kind of Wonderful. His debut was in Fast Times at Ridgemont High, which we did.
Yep.
And he had already received a Golden Globe nomination for his role in Mask, which is pretty amazing. He was cast as Marty McFly in Back to the Future before eventually being replaced by Michael J. Fox.
And he had worked with Lea Thompson before Back to the Future, and this obviously after. They were friends. And I saw an interview with Lea Thompson where she admitted to kind of being icy to Michael J. Fox when he replaced Eric Stoltz because she had a loyalty to Eric Stoltz as a friend in real life.
Yeah. Yeah, kind of like the next character. So after this movie, he had notable roles in Pulp Fiction, Little Women, The Prophecy.
That's right.
Another one. We did a lot of these movies. And Jerry Maguire. And more recently, he's basically like a successful TV director. He's got a lot of credits. He's done shows like Law and Order, Glee, Madam Secretary, Bull, and at least a dozen more.
I've always liked Eric Stoltz, so good for him.
Yeah, me too. Then we have Mary Stuart Masterson as Watts. So basically, she's the quintessential tomboy and a very loyal best friend to Keith. She's the heart of the movie. She's the soul of the movie. And she's a talented drummer, and she's pretty witty. Yeah, she's a smart cookie. So her primary motivation is basically her friendship and her unspoken, unrequited love for Keith. She's basically his confidant and protector, and she does not let on that she's pining for him. Basically, she wants Keith to see her as more than just one of the guys. It's like, it's my buddy. She doesn't want to just be his buddy. And eventually she gets the courage to express that. So Mary Stuart Masterson was born to a film family already. And she basically, this was her breakout performance. Before this, she was in the Stepford Wives as a child.
Yeah, I don't know her from much else. I mean...
Yeah. After this, she did Fried Green Tomatoes, Benny and June, Bed of Roses, Five Nights at Freddy's, more recently.
Yeah, I read that she was in that. I've never seen that.
I never saw it either.
She tends to seem to do like chick flick type things, and I stay away from that stuff, so yeah.
Yeah. TV, she had, some recurring roles in Law and Order, SVU, in a show called Blind Spot, which I also did not see. And also she has done some some directing and stuff. And she did a film called The Cake Eaters, which I never even heard of, but it did have some famous actors in it. Moving on, we have Lea Thompson as Amanda Jones. So she turned down this lead role when she was approached by Howard Deutsch,
who is her husband now, by the way.
Who is now her husband, right? They got married. They fell in love and got married. But she turned it down, and then eventually, after the flop of Howard the Duck, she came back around. On the surface, she is the popular girl, the beautiful girl. She's the girlfriend of the loyal, rich, smart douchebag Hardy. And her motivation is she's searching for authenticity, right? She's unhappy with her relationship, and she feels controlled by Hardy and trapped by the social pressures to maintain her status. But like you said before, she's not from that side of the tracks. She's from the wrong side of the tracks, but she's in the right crowd, I guess you might say.
Right.
So she just wants to be seen as genuine. That's her deal. She wants to be seen as genuine. Born in 1961 in Minnesota.
I loved her as a kid, man, and you
still love her. She's one of your favorites.
I do, admittedly, and even in this movie, like, the hairdo is very 80s, but she's just so, Lea Thompson isn't like gorgeous or anything, but she's like got this cross section of super cute and hot at the same time. Mm-hmm. She's got like there's something very mystical going on there, and like honestly, like I get it, like I totally get why Marty McFly didn't bang her, but like I also get like where you're like, oh shit, my mom, super hot, I gotta run.
I gotta run. Yeah. So before this movie, she was in another movie we did, Jaws 3D.
Hell yeah.
All the Right Moves, Red Dawn, obviously Back to the Future trilogy, and Howard the Duck. After this movie, Casual Sex, Back to the Future 2 and 3, Dennis the Menace, J. Edgar. I never saw that.
Caroline in the City, that TV show. Yeah.
Very successful 90s sitcom. I don't know how many episodes that ran, but very many.
Several years. It was like one of the Thursday night NBC block, like that included Seinfeld for a while. Yeah.
Yep. And she did a lot of other TV, not just that, but that was her big one. Also directed a lot of TV as well with the Goldbergs, Young Sheldon, Star Trek Picard. Pretty interesting. I didn't know that. Then we have Craig Sheffer as Hardy Jens. He's the boyfriend. He's the antagonist of the movie. He's driven by arrogance, insecurity, a need for control. He's a wealthy, popular alpha male. Amanda to him is just a possession. I mean, he literally even says that.
He absolutely says, he calls her his property.
Yeah.
And I didn't realize it until I looked up the cast afterwards. Well, I realized it at the end of the movie. But the blonde girl that he keeps on like canoodling with is China Phillips from Wilson Phillips.
She is, yeah. I don't have her in the list here. I kept it pretty small, but yeah. And that was pointed out to me by Candy when she saw her. Basically, he is the quintessential 80s rich boy high school villain.
He's like, if you couldn't get James Spader, get Craig Sheffer.
Right. Yeah.
And we're doing this movie because Larry loves it. And Larry also loves Nightbreed, which starred Craig Sheffer.
Right.
I'm starting to wonder if Larry has like a little bit of a thing
got a
for Craig
Sheffer. Sheffer boner.
Yeah.
He's got a Sheffer boner.
He's got a Sheffer boner.
Yeah. All he cares about is maintaining his dominance and punishing those who defy him. So before this movie, he was in That Was Then, This Is Now, in Fire with Fire. And then after this, I think right after this, he did Nightbreed, like you said. He was the lead in Robert Redford's A River Runs Through It.
Yeah.
He's in Fire in the Sky and another Larry joint, Hellraiser Inferno.
Oh, I didn't know.
I don't know if he loves Inferno. Yeah. And then on TV, he was in a long-running role as Keith Scott on One Tree Hill.
Oh, of course.
And a lot of other shows from the 80s all the way to the 2020s. Then we have John Ashton as Cliff Nelson. That's Keith's father. Love John Ashton.
Can I
basically? Go ahead.
Can I throw out a quote real quick?
Yeah.
Where's the fucking money, Keith? That's fucking great. He literally, like, he had dad anger in that scene. He channeled it. Yeah. He plays a dad really fucking well. Really well.
Yeah, he does. Because he's a dad. He wants his son to have a better life, right? More financially secure. He's the character actor you've seen. Did a lot of tough guy roles. Married 3 times. And died from cancer, unfortunately, last year, September 2024.
Yeah, because I think, I still haven't seen it yet, but I think he reprised his role in the newest Beverly Hills Cop movie.
He did, yeah. I watched that for about 10 minutes and I turned it off. It's like, I can't watch this shit.
Yeah.
Unfortunately. Yep. Before this, I mean, he's got a lot of film credits, but he was in Oh God. He's in Breaking Away.
I love that movie.
Little favorite of ours. Obviously, he was Detective Sergeant John Taggart in Beverly Hills Cop. And then Beverly Hills Cop 2 and the Axel F movie. She's Having a Baby, another one of my secret favorite movies. Midnight Run and Gone Baby Gone.
Yeah, he's just a good character actor.
Yeah. After him, I'll just do one more. Elias Koteas as Duncan. So Duncan is the punk rocker, pseudo skinhead. Initially, he's menacing, but he develops a respect for Keith and his defiance of Hardy and the popular crowd and all that stuff. He becomes an ally. And that's his story. Yeah, he's a Canadian. Studied acting. You ready for this? He studied acting under Peter Masterson, Mary Stuart Masterson's father.
Oh, I think I read that. Yeah, that's
pretty
very cool.
Before this, he was in One Magic Christmas, which I do not know. But he was also in She's Having a Baby, Tucker, obviously
Your
Teenage
favorite
Mutant Ninja Turtles as Casey Jones.
Yeah.
Also in The Prophecy, The Thin Red Line, and Zodiac, another good movie.
He is great. And if just a quick cast note I want to throw out there is I read it and then I watched the credits. His name is Duncan. He says Duncan in the movie. He is credited as Skinhead. In the final credits. And also, I don't know because you passed all of them, so if you were going to mention this, I apologize. But so lead character's Keith. Watts is the Mary Stuart Masterson character, and Lea Thompson plays Amanda Jones. So obviously,
the Stones.
Keith Richards, Charlie Watts, and they have a song called Miss Amanda Jones, which is actually played during Keith's shower scene later in the movie. I thought that was pretty interesting. John Hughes, obviously a big Rolling Stones fan, big music guy. But I thought that was an interesting little thing. And in the script dated 1986, Watts's first name is Susan, but they never say it in the movie at all.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah, no, I didn't get that. That's it. I had that written down, but that's fine. That's a good thing to point out. And one last thing about Elias Koteas is he is not Christopher Maloney, and
or Robert De Niro.
right. And he did have a prominent role as Detective Alvin Olinsky in the Chicago PD television series. There's a whole bunch of them.
Yeah. Okay. I love him. He is great. Me and Mike Butler a couple months ago did Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 3, which I had never seen. And he is not in the second one, and then the third one comes out 3 years after the first. And by that time it kind of had run its course. I was shocked when he shows up again as Casey Jones, and he has like a dual role in the movie where he plays, because the movie takes place in two different time periods. He plays a guy in feudal Japan and, Casey Jones in current, New York City. And it was like, the movie's not great. But it was a nice little touch to have Elias Koteas back in that, because he's always one of those guys, like in The Prophecy, he's just great in that. Like he's, as this like conflicted ex-priest cop, like he's just one of those guys that always makes a movie a little bit more interesting.
So is Eric Stoltz. They're both
Eric Stoltz is too.
They're both great in that. Yeah.
A movie you didn't mention for Eric Stoltz, and I don't know if you've ever seen it before, but I'll recommend it to the listeners out there. Killing Zoe. Have you ever seen that?
I haven't seen it.
It is Roger Avery, who is the guy that co-wrote Pulp Fiction with Quentin Tarantino. It is like from a year after Pulp Fiction, and it's about Eric Stoltz. He plays, I think, an American safecracker who goes to Paris to join up with this group of Parisian thieves to rob a bank, and everything goes wrong. It's fucking really good. And I back in like the 90s and early 2000s, I saw that like, I don't know, 5 or 6 times. It is really good. So if you ever get a chance to check out Killing Zoe, definitely check that out. All right. So Keith is a student in this high school. He lives with his very blue collar family. His father is a tire installer salesperson who just wants Keith to be better than what he was, which so many parents want, right? He wants
That's what we want. Yeah.
Go to college. Just go to college, Keith. He's very on top of Keith's in his senior year. He's getting all of these applications for schools. Keith has a job at a gas station, changing oil, pumping gas. He's been saving money for years. So he's got all the pieces together to like make the next move. He has like kind of like, maybe 2 year younger sister who's a real fucking piece of work. She's a real pain in the ass. Yeah. And then actually, just to mention, his younger sister is Candace Cameron, Bure from Fuller House and all that stuff.
Oh, that's who that was.
She's like 12 years old in this. Keith is friends with Watts. We don't know much about Watts other than she's kind of tomboyish. She's a drummer. And see, one of the problems I have with this movie, and I kind of want to get it out there now, is that Keith becomes attracted to Amanda Jones. Because she's beautiful and it just seems like she's unattainable. Did you, I don't know, maybe you don't agree with me. I didn't feel like Watts was in love with Keith until like halfway through this movie. But is that supposed to be part of the story where she realizes it halfway through the movie? Or were we supposed to believe that she's always pined for him?
I think we're supposed to believe she always pines for him.
Okay. Because
that's my take on it.
I felt like there wasn't to me a great demonstration of that. Like I felt like it just suddenly became, as soon as he told her he was interested in asking Amanda out, that now suddenly she's interested in him.
Oh, I see. Okay. Yeah, I mean that I'm sure brought the feelings more forward, for sure. Hey, do you think the initial scene, the opening scene where he's walking on the train tracks towards the train, and just casually steps aside and then like touches the train as it goes by, is that in his character?
I had a hard time with that scene, but do you know why I had a hard time with that scene? I wasn't even so much thinking of his character, because at that point we hadn't really met him yet and I hadn't seen the movie in a long time.
Yeah.
I had a hard time as an adult thinking, if I was that train conductor.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Like you fucking asshole kid, right? Yep. But that's also like, that's the beautiful thing about getting older, is I don't think I would have done something like that when I was a kid. But when you're a kid, you do things like that and don't think about what it does to other people sometimes. And in my head, I'm like, fuck this kid. Like, this guy can't stop this train. There might be people on it, or it might not be people on it, but he's worried he's about to splatter this fucking kid. And also, how often does he do this? Right? Like, is this a common thing with Keith?
It's a weird way to open it up and show us that scene, right?
Right. And it also, you're right, it also doesn't carry over necessarily to his character. Like, where, he's not suicidal, he's not a troublemaker. I don't know. So maybe it's to make him feel alive. Well, we also meet Amanda, and she is the property of Hardy. I don't even know. Does Hardy go to that school, or is he?
Yeah, he goes to the school, right? He's in there. He's talking to the girl at the locker.
This is one of the movies. One of the worst examples or best examples of a movie where the people are clearly not in high school. They're
all late 20s.
They're all super adults in this thing. Craig Sheffer has 2 kids. He's got a mortgage. But we meet them, and in one of the first scenes, this was another thing about Keith that I thought was really bizarre. Maybe Keith is supposed to be a little bit off, or maybe way back in 87, there was no autism, and now there is, and we can see it for what it is.
Oh, okay.
But like another behavior Keith does that's really weird, that I don't know if you thought the same thing, was that whole scene where Hardy and Amanda are like canoodling at the locker. He is just staring at them, like standing there, just watching them. Now it's not like, oh, here's like a young guy who's lovelorn and he's like kind of looking from behind the lockers. He's just standing in the doorway of the class. 'Cause that's when Hardy, I think, says to him, like, what are you looking at? Are you like, you're staring at my girl? Something along those lines. And honestly, I don't want to side with Hardy, but he is, like, straight up.
He is. He totally is.
He does it again in the library. He's constantly like sketching pictures of her.
Yeah, sort of disassociation, I guess.
Yeah, it's a little weird. We meet Duncan, and at the beginning they have kind of like a interaction over Watts and Duncan fighting, and Keith kind of pushes Duncan away from Watts, and so we kind of get the idea that they're going to be like, antagonists throughout this thing. Elias Koteas, clearly the oldest person in this cast, probably. Totally not a high school student. But Manster
is already bald.
He's already bald.
Naturally.
Eventually, Amanda ends up getting detention, and Keith decides that the best way to get close to her is to get detention himself. So he pulls a fire alarm, and he ends up in detention with Duncan and just the worst of the worst. It's a bunch of like, I hate to say it, but it's a bunch of stereotypical, like, mean black dudes, and there's like a guy with like long hair who looks like he's like also 40 years old, and he's got a switchblade. But Amanda doesn't go to detention.
But she gets out of it because she's Amanda. She's Amanda Jones.
She literally just says to the teacher, she's like, or the principal, she's like, do I really have to sit in there with them? I'd rather, could I just do like this in your office? And he's like, fuck yeah, you can. You're hot. And she compliments his hairstyle, and he's bald, like he's got like George Costanza head. This movie it's kind of tough to walk through.
Yeah, it is. You're right.
Because
we get the Hardy, humiliating Amanda
right
during this time too.
Right. And she decides, I'm done with you. Yep. But she does it in front of everybody. Mm-hmm. And Keith takes the very weird stance, in my opinion, to kind of like ask her out right then and there. And on his end, he's taking an opportunity.
Yeah,
and on
very
her
impulsive.
End, yeah, very impulsive. And on her end, she says yes because she knows it's going to hurt Hardy's feelings. So that's what sets up like kind of like the idea of this movie.
Yeah, that's the setup right there.
And Watts is very much like, this girl wants nothing to do with you. She's using you. Everybody in his life is kind of telling him why it's not going to work out. And that's kind of like you mentioned motivations. That's kind of like the character's driving force, right?
Yep.
Is to show everybody, why can't this work out? Like, why do I have to be from the wrong side of the tracks and she's got to be from, this other world? Why can't a guy like me end up with her? But we see throughout the course of the movie, like on her end, none of her friends believe this is real for her, right?
Mm-hmm. And they're all real rich girls, right? They're not just the fake rich girl.
There's a scene that's important in the movie where she's wearing a pair of diamond earrings and Keith gets a ride with her and her friend back home. And, I think she says, he compliments them and she says, they're not mine. They're her friend Shane's. Shane let me borrow them because she can't afford diamond earrings.
Right.
So Hardy eventually kind of acquiesces to the fact that Keith is going to be taking his girlfriend out on this, like the whole movie revolves around this mythical date.
The whole thing is the stakes of the movie, or the plan is the date.
The date.
Right. So she said, yeah, I'll go out. So now he has to deliver a date that he thinks is on her level.
Right.
Which means he has to spend his entire college savings to take her out on a date.
So yeah,
idiot.
Let's run into that. So Hardy comes to him in like art class, and while he's painting a picture of her again, like he is obsessed with her. And Hardy says, hey, look, let's let bygones be bygones. There's a scene earlier in the movie where Hardy like is really fucking shitty to Keith at his job, where he's like, he is the worst. Hardy is the fucking worst. He tells him to pump his gas, check his oil. He talks down to him. He says, stop looking at my fucking girlfriend. But Hardy comes to him and says, hey, look, you won. Again, he's treating her like a prize, like property. Yep. You won. Yep. Saturday night's your big date. I'm having a giant, like movie style, my parents are away party at my giant rich person house on Saturday. Come by and hang out. And I like this scene a lot because Keith is like very suspect of Hardy because he should be.
Of course.
There's one line where Hardy's like, would it be the weirdest thing in the world if we became friends? And Keith goes, right. Yes. Yes. He's like, I'm going to come to this party and you and your friends are going to jack me up. And he's like, no. And he says, well, I'll check with Amanda. And Hardy tells him, I already did. And she's down for it. But that's a lie. That's a lie.
It's a lie. I like the scene too. And I think, Craig Sheffer pulls it off pretty well because most of these scenes you'd be like, you could tell this is all bullshit, but he comes off as kind of genuine here.
He does come off as genuine, but what is the problem with the party and the invitation, Manster? What's actually going to happen?
Oh, he's going to get lit up when he gets there.
Yeah.
They're just going to beat his ass.
So Keith's sister, the pain in the ass one, who's a couple years younger than him, who has been antagonistic to him through the whole movie.
Very much.
Brother and sister antagonistic.
Yeah.
At a mall, she hears Hardy tell his friends, who are all also 40 years old with 2 kids and a mortgage, that when Keith shows up, they're going to jack him up there. So she goes back and tells Keith this, but Hardy lied to his friends and said Amanda was in on it, that she's going to help lead Keith to the party.
Yeah, of course.
That's how they're going to get him there. And the sister tells Keith, I'm sorry to tell you this. I'm being genuine. They're going to beat you up, and Amanda is only doing this as a trick on you.
They all think Amanda's in on it, but she ain't.
This is where I had some problems with the plot of the movie, Manster. We'll get to Keith and his father arguing about the money in a second, but I want to skip to the date. When they're on the date, their whole interaction before they go on the date and everything is so antagonistic towards each other. And that's because
I found that too. Yeah, I definitely found that. Like, you would try to be more, not accepting, but just like a better rapport than going back and forth negatively like that.
Because I couldn't even figure out, like, when Keith says to her, when do you want to go? Now, at this point, too, I think it's important to mention that Amanda's friends have dropped her for dropping Hardy going out with this kid. So they're not good friends, obviously. But, like, when Keith says, when can I pick you up? She says, whenever. Like, seems like and he's like, do you even want to go on this date? And she's like, yes. I was having a hard time honing in on the Amanda character.
Yeah, I get that.
If she even liked Keith enough to go out on a date with him. It seemed like, I get it, her whole life has been kind of upturned. The people that she thought were friends, like, really weren't good friends. But, I don't know. I think part of my problem is that in my head, I want to keep putting this movie into the category of, like, a true love story, and it's not.
Right. So it's more like it was an opportunity that presented itself to her rather than something she was, like, really cool about.
Right. All right, Keith is about ready to go on the big date. He's taking a shower when all of a sudden someone flushes his toilet and he gets burned, and it is his dad. And he says, I need to talk to you. Get dressed. I'll meet you in your room. So this is the point where, after all of these conversations we kind of briefly talked about in this movie, where Keith's dad is telling him about all these applications for college, and he keeps mentioning money. At one point, he tells him about some kind of T-bill Keith has is going to make $16 more a year. He is obviously super focused on Keith's future, and Keith is kind of not.
Not at all.
Manster, what did Keith do with the fucking money? And they never say how much it is, but what did he do with the money that was his college future?
I've got it here as $7,200.
Oh, I didn't hear that.
Yeah, I don't know. I found it somewhere. What did he do with it? He fucking just wasted it. Did he buy the car?
He rents the car. He rents he rents like a Rolls Royce or something.
Yep.
And has Watts is going to be like the chauffeur for this.
Yeah, Watts is going to be the chauffeur.
He takes Amanda to a fancy restaurant that, even though she's like dips her toes into that world, like he orders caviar and like neither of them want to eat it. He's obviously spending a lot of money. And then he buys her a pair of diamond earrings because he says,
oh, that's right,
you should never have to borrow anything. Right.
That's right. Okay.
He takes her. Duncan's father is a security guard to some kind of museum. He takes her at night. They sneak him in and he's able to show her like this art museum. And then he shows her this painting he did of her where it's like her from the beginning of the movie. And they have like this kind of like moment where they talk about like the earrings and everything like that. And they have like a kiss and they start holding hands. Now to go back to the Keith and his father bit, Keith's father is like fucking insane. In anger over what Keith has done with this money. But Keith has like a pretty good monologue where he tells his dad, I'm the guy at school. He says to his dad, do you remember the kids in school that like you didn't remember or weren't worth talking to, blah, blah, all that stuff, the outsiders? He goes, that is me.
Right. Yeah.
Nobody looks at me. Nobody thinks of me. I am just like a part of the fucking school. I fade into the background. And Keith looks at this as his one chance to kind of like shine. And at this point, you start to almost realize that it's not even like, he's not really in love with Amanda, right? Like he is just almost trying to prove a point. And he promises his dad too, that like, I will pay this money back, but you got to trust me. I'm tired of like living on your timeline. I need to go and do this thing. And his dad, in I think one of the like most well-written parts of the movie, like lets him, right? Yeah,
unbelievably.
Yeah.
But is that where he tells him you can't buy a girl's love?
He does.
Yeah.
He does. He's like, if you think that's what it's going to, do, if that's going to work for you, it's not going to work. So we go back to the date, and they seem to have, at least there's some feelings there or something. And we also see like when they're at like this concert hall and they're talking on the stage because, like, again, same thing. Like they have this private,
that big open amphitheater.
Open amphitheater. Watts is watching them from the seats, and you could see she's like visibly like shaken by the fact that like they're kissing and holding hands.
Yeah.
So, but Keith is now like, we have one more thing to do. We have to go to this party. And they're both like, no, because you're going to get your ass absolutely handed to you. Like, we know this. We have a nice little moment where Watts and Amanda kind of have a moment where they kind of like talk to each other like, I'm sorry I was harsh on you. But they drive to the party and they go in. And they go in as a couple, like, holding hands, Manster. And we get a scene between Hardy and Keith and Amanda. Do you remember this part? Do you remember, like, how it goes down?
No.
Okay. All right.
I'm sorry.
No, it's okay. It's okay. Manster was heavily drugged when we watched this movie.
And I haven't seen it in so many years. Like, 20 or more years.
It's okay. I don't mind taking the brunt of this one.
All right. Thank you.
So they go in and they have this moment where Hardy tries to humiliate Keith, and he basically says stuff like, well, I'm glad that you got her. Like, did she do you? He's being real crude, and he kind of says some things about like how Amanda's like secondhand trash and all this stuff. And just as
used goods, right? He calls her used goods. Okay,
he's just being a real scumbag. And just as he tells all of his goons with 2 kids and a mortgage, to grab Keith, and he's not even going to do it.
Yeah, he doesn't even want to beat him up. He wants his friends to beat him up.
He says he's the host, so he doesn't want to get his, he wants to be able to.
Yeah, he wants to have his blazer, in perfect condition.
His white blazer. He's dressed like Don Johnson, kind of in Miami Vice. So the goons go to take him outside, and as they go to take him outside, Manster, you got to remember who shows up to save the day.
Duncan and company shows up.
And they are clearly not the type of dudes that should be at this house party. Again, you've got a guy that's a leather-wearing punk rock skinhead, couple of big, scary-looking black dudes, and then a guy who's like a roadie for fucking Yesterday and Tomorrow, or like, I don't know, fucking Y&T
Lemmy.
or Lemmy or somebody. He's just like, they're all there, and immediately, once they come in, they kind of get all the goons off of him, and we see Hardy's true colors because he tucks tail. And I don't want a problem with you guys, and
he's just a coward.
He's a coward.
Fucking coward.
So Keith kind of has his moment with Hardy, and then Amanda slaps him like fucking 2 or 3 times in front of everybody. Pretty hard. Good shots.
Yeah.
Pretty good shots. She slaps him a few times, and Duncan says to them, why don't you guys go ahead and enjoy the rest of your night? We're going to hang out here. We're going to have a good time. We're going to bring this party up a few levels. We do get actually a funny moment where the Shane character, who was supposed to be like the best friend of Amanda, and the really fucking weird looking long haired greasy dude.
Oh, the weird dude.
He looks at her and he raises his eyebrows and she smiles and like,
they're going to hook up.
They're going to hook up. So that's where we kind of leave everything there. They go out onto the steps of the house. This is where I have kind of a problem with this movie is Keith sees Watts kind of like upset, and she leaves and she walks away. She's like, I'm going to walk home. You could take the car or whatever. So she's walking away. And at that moment, it seems like the script kicks in and says Keith has to fall in love with Watts at this moment. Now, earlier in the movie, there is a scene where Watts suggests that they kiss so that she could register whether or not Keith has the right stuff to kiss Amanda eventually. And when they kiss,
and she's very, very impacted by the kiss.
Oh, she's like,
she's like swooning after.
She says like, you've got the stuff. Don't worry.
Yeah.
But she's now seeing that him and Amanda are holding hands, and they just came out of this house party, like triumphant, like they could be a couple. And she starts walking away. And I don't know. I don't know if it's earned, but Amanda, who never has really had any real fealty to Keith, kind of says, I think you might be letting something walk away that you shouldn't let walk away. And she takes the earrings out that he gave her and says, I think, gives them to him and says, I think, there's somebody else that, deserves these. And they have like a nice moment. I think maybe they like hug, or he kisses her on the cheek. So like he immediately kind of like dismisses this girl he spent this whole movie going after.
Yeah, the whole movie.
And chases Watts down the road and then just basically tells her like, I don't think he says, I love you, but you know, he kind of like says like, I want this to be a thing. And she immediately goes right for it. And he gives her the earrings and she says like, I wanted these like as soon as I saw that you got them. And he says, you know, the final line is, you look really great wearing my future. And they walk away. And they walk away. And I also had to I noticed this on this watch, you know, I hadn't seen this movie in years, is that the diamond ring ending is very similar to The Breakfast Club, where Molly Ringwald gives Judd Nelson one of her diamond rings and he puts it in at the end. I felt like there was something here with John Hughes with the diamond earrings. And they walk away and the movie ends at that point. So that is 1987, Some Kind of Wonderful. That is for our Pint Insider, Scary Larry Dwyer. But we're not done yet. Manster, let's talk about how this thing did in the box office.
Show me the money.
Just looking good, but I think I'm taking too long. Back to the spot for a Glock. I took a loss over floss, but still got a knock. Money!
Well, believe it or not, there's no budget available that I could find. The only budget information I could find says it was typically low budget as per John Hughes films. So whatever his budget is for his typical 80s high school film, that's
$270 million.
Yeah, right. So the weekend, it made $3.5 million, and domestic on the year made $18.5 million.
Okay.
So I don't know. What do you think the budget is? I don't know if that's a success or not.
I would say it was low budget, a couple $1 million probably.
So for that weekend, it came in at number 6. Outrageous Fortune was number 3. Platoon was number 2. And Nightmare on Elm Street 3 was number 1 at 8.8. And on the year, I'll just give you the top 5. Moonstruck was number 5. Good Morning Vietnam was number 4. Beverly Hills Cop 2 was number 3. Fatal Attraction number 2, and of course 3 Men and a Baby, that juggernaut, was number 1. Some Kind of Wonderful was number 60 that year.
Yeah. I think this was released, as we mentioned, like in February, probably to maybe capitalize on Valentine's Day, because this looks from the outside, this looks like it's a rom-com or a romantic movie, and it's really not when you get down to it, but let's talk about that now. Let's rate this fucking thing.
Here it comes.
All right, 0 to 5, 0 being the worst thing ever, 5 being the best thing ever, quarter and half scale optional. Master, you go first on this one.
Yeah, I'll go first. First, I want to sort of apologize, especially to Larry. I do like this movie, and I wish I did it a little more justice by remembering more details than I did. And I haven't seen it in so long, and so... yeah.
Just stop watching movies high. That's all.
Unfortunately.
on fucking fentanyl.
Yeah, right. It's right in my chart right there. So this is like a spiritual successor to Pretty in Pink, right? Except for, you know, they pick the right person in the end. They pick the person everyone wants them to pick. But what I like about it is I don't think the characters, they're not really one-dimensional stereotypes. You know, they each actually have little growth, and they're young folks grappling with identity and integrity, and they're confused, and you know that's what the young folks are. You don't get that maturity until much later in life. Watts, Mary Stuart Masterson is the soul of the movie. Like I said before, she's really good. She pulls off the rocker tomboy really well. I do like the chemistry. I think maybe you feel like the chemistry wasn't exactly what you thought, but I like the chemistry between her and Stoltz. And it feels pretty real. You know, I love her loyalty. And I feel like the conclusion, it makes sense, like a lot, like with the Pretty in Pink, you know, maybe it doesn't make sense in the end, but I think this one does feel like it makes more sense, although, you know, maybe he could have figured it out a little sooner and not had to spend $72,000.
Yeah.
to get there. But I like it. I like the film. I think it respects, the characters that are in the film and the audience too. So, and I don't, it's just something about a movie I like. I like it. And hey, that's what I like. And I'm going to give it a 4 out of 5.
Ooh, buddy.
Yeah, I know.
All right. No, that's fair.
I know it's a little high, but
no, dude,
I don't know.
This movie has you written all over it. 80s movie, good cast, good soundtrack. I knew that you were going to like this. I hadn't seen this in a long time, and I was lower on it for sure. But I also, like I said, I have conflicting feelings about this movie in terms of like Keith's motivations. Like,
yeah,
he wants Amanda for the wrong reasons, and it just seems like nobody really realizes anything until like all of a sudden it happens. Like he wants Amanda for the wrong reasons, and he pursues her and pursues her and pursues her. And then when he finally gets her, all of a sudden it feels like because the story mandates it, he realizes he's loved Watts all along. But there's never been a moment in the movie where he seemed like he was in love with Watts. Watts seemed like she was in love with him for a good chunk of the movie.
Right.
And even though I said it didn't feel like it in the very beginning, it becomes clear, like when Amanda comes in the picture and they kiss and everything, that. Mm-hmm. He kisses her and he's not even into it. But then all of a sudden at the end of the movie, he's like, that's the girl I got to get with.
Yeah, I agree. I see what you're saying.
I honestly felt like it was unearned. And here's something else I thought when I watched this movie. Eric Stoltz is a good actor. Lea Thompson's good. Mary Stuart Masterson is good. And I think a lot of it relies on Eric Stoltz's chemistry with Lea Thompson and with Mary Stuart Masterson. But my problem was that I was more invested in, and I thought the chemistry was better between Eric Stoltz and John Ashton and Eric Stoltz and Elias Koteas. Like, honestly, I felt like those were more real relationships than the ones with the girls. Like him and his dad. The best scene in the movie is the scene in the bedroom where they have the talk about the money. John Ashton, again, like when he says, "Where's the fucking money, Keith?" He's so fucking mad.
Yeah.
Like, so mad. Matter of fact, I'm going to make that one of our sound drops for box office cause I like that so much. And at the end of the movie, when Duncan comes and saves the day, I said to myself, what this movie could have used, okay, cause it's not a long movie. It's super long on fucking Pluto because 18 fucking thousand commercials, but it's an hour and a half long. They introduce in the beginning of the movie the idea that Keith is going to be in detention with Duncan and this group of miscreants. I would have loved 15 minutes throughout the movie going back to the classroom and developing the relationship between Keith and Duncan, because they start off as antagonists having a fight. We do see a moment where they bond over doing some art in detention, and then like they become real close. I really would like to have seen more of the Duncan character and the Keith character, like, just having these little moments or maybe discussions, or maybe him going to Duncan more about the Amanda Jones stuff and getting Duncan's opinion on things. But so I kind of felt like that's kind of rough when you have a movie that's essentially like a film that's supposed to kind of be a romantic film or whatever you want to call it. And I felt like some of the better scenes were the scenes that didn't involve the romantic leads together at all. So I do think good soundtrack. It's not a long movie. But Larry's going to be mad at me on this one. I'm going to give it a 2.75.
Oh,
yeah. I'm going to give it a 2.75. I definitely don't think, I know it's not John Hughes written and directed. It's just written by him. It's not upper echelon for me, like 16 Candles or Breakfast Club or Weird Science or any of those things. So did think this is a well-made movie. I think it's got a really good cast, but I have some issues with it. So,
and we don't know what Larry's score would be.
A 5. Larry loves this movie. Guarantee it's a 5
for Larry.
I struggled with, I was going to ask Larry to come on, but I think he was on family vacation last week. And then I thought, you know what? Let's just do this for him so he can enjoy it and not have to talk about it. But, now he's probably going to punch me right in the fucking face because I gave it a 2.75.
Don't punch me, Larry. I gave it a 4.
You gave it a 4. You're good to go. All right, Manster, tell everybody all about The Pint and where they can find us.
The Pint can be found on any of your podcatchers, Apple, iHeart, Spotify, Google, whatever you like, and on Facebook. On YouTube, right?
We ditched Facebook. Bro.
We did. I think I might have said Facebook previously. On YouTube, it's I think it's the Pint of Pop Culture Podcast, but on Instagram, it's at the Pint Pop. Who cares about any of the other ones? Because we don't do those.
No.
On Patreon, you can become an insider at www.patreon.com/thepint. $2.50 gets you some good stuff, and $4 gets you even more good stuff.
That's right. Again, thank you, Scary Larry Dwyer, for being our friend and letting us give you this this gift of a review of Some Kind of Wonderful. All month long this month, September, is Totally Bitchin' 80s. We got some more great 80s stuff coming at you. And, if you haven't joined up on the Pint Insider, the Patreon, that's the only place you're going to get our episode on Doom, 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 Flash. He saved every one of us. That's right. Flash Gordon is coming to the Pint Insider this month. So even for $2.50, jump on there. Check out all almost 90 episodes that we've done. Enjoy it. Bask in the glory. And until next time, Lloyd, say the words.
See ya.
It's over, Johnny. It's over. Nothing is over. Nothing. You just don't turn it off.